Welcome back to some of the most professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce with two barracks. And these are on his side of the map. The last mech Terran. It is GuMiho. Though decidedly un-mech to start here. Now, on the opposite side. About to be greeted with this side. It is, of course, the favorite in almost everything he does. And I don't think that's limited to StarCraft 2. The final boss. It is Dark. This is the GSL, the Global StarCraft League Code S, the winner's match of the group. Whoever wins this is guaranteed to move on. And we're kicking things off. Ooh. The barracks comes out, floats away and guns down the barracks, unfortunately, for Terrans, does not gun down the Overlord. But the Marines do. And deny that little bit of information. So Dark says, screw you and your information. Roach, warren it is. He saw the two wrecks at the very front. Very important to start. So if you enjoy the Global StarCraft League, and if you enjoy a spicy start, like, subscribe, and let's jump right into it. There's not going to be too much time for hesitation. Oh, come on, Dark. I hadn't even finished my sellout intro. Yes, a handful of Marines come across the map, but somehow 4 Zerglings end up doing more damage as they delay the valuable reactor on the other side because GuMiho on the wrong side of the map to be able to deal with this. Single Hellion comes out. Dark just had 7 roaches on, looking to take game 1 as quickly as possible. I think GuMiho was trying to pull one over on Dark, but Dark went with the classic punch him in the face move. Well, actually, that was more of a tweak of the nose with the Zerglings there, but delaying that reactor means significantly less Marines. Significantly less Marines means half a dozen roaches on the way across the map are going to make things much more difficult. Not relying entirely on this attack ending the game is Dark at this point, as he's already got drones on the way. The Hellion pokes in. I believe he just saw the roaches on the way across. Starts a Banshee. Marauder in production. Repairs the depot. The panic begins as Dark is knocking on the door, and there's not that much to answer. Precarious wall at best, able to target both the reactor and the supply depot with corrosive bile. The reactor was never meant to be. Goes down again. The door will be opened forcefully by Dark's roaches and ravagers. A Banshee is in production, but it's a long way from being finished, especially for anything here. Corrosive bile, staggering back, actually kills 3 of the Marines with it. Banshee will pop out into a world of Terran death and destruction. The roaches and ravagers may eventually go down, but with one of the oldest and most direct plays in all of StarCraft 2, and not even limited, more like Sun Tzu on the other hand. As they say, if your enemy's doing something weird, go hecking kill them. Alright, I don't know, this isn't PG-13. Go fucking kill him, says Dark. So he does. He walks across, slaps the reactor out of GuMiho's mouth, and takes game 1. Well, that was abrupt. Some of you may remember I talked about the GSL matches with Heroes experience the other day. But a lot of them have been abrupt this season so far. That is a nice way to put it. But Dark, not hesitating. He wants out of this group. He's got places to be. I mean, I think it was held online. But, I mean, that doesn't mean he doesn't have places to be. It's just all the more annoyance if the game goes on longer. Well, jumping in to game 2, Neo-Humanity. Humanity, something Dark left behind long ago. GuMiho, on the other hand, decided the real... The real issue with that last game was the barracks were too far. They were too far away. This time, more barracks and closer to his base. No more dilly-dallying around. No more pretending like it's a macro build. Instead, 3 Rex proxy. He's actually, wait. Is the barracks in range of the watchtower giving him vision? That's actually... Oh, not quite, not quite. I don't think it's activated quite yet. But he can go hang out by... There you go, yeah. It had a weird look to it. But the Overlord is looking exactly for this. And, well, everybody knows what everybody knows now. Actually, a key point of this, the third Rex... I take it back. The third Rex is a little further back. And the difference between a 2 and a 3 Rex is quite dramatic. The 2 Rex response is to bring the drones off the line and shut everything down. 3 Rex, on the other hand, that becomes significantly more difficult. And you're usually better off defending your main as opposed to trying to beat it head on. Because the sheer amount of Marines, that extra set of Marines that can be added, is usually a difference maker. But Dark zones out for quite a bit. I don't know if he's realized the situation quite yet. Of course, he has these drones at the natural. The Zerglings are out. The bunker, the big timer of everything. He mines a little bit more, starts a spine crawler. The Marine count has already grown quite rapidly. The drone's trying to mineral walk around. Get a grab on those Marines. So far, great micro by GuMiho. Gunning down drones and Zerglings alike. Slipping and sliding through. The SCV getting in the way of things. And I think he's done it. Well, half of Dark's economy is hunting down Marines. There's a couple queens out. I think the damage has been done, though, especially considering these 5 drones are essentially stranded. GuMiho does not shy away. In Game 2, says, the only problem was I didn't cheese you hard enough. But 2 can play at that game. The Predator drones were hunting the Marines, but their number has been reduced so much, it's almost impossible now for them to get anything done. Another spine crawler on the way for Dark, but he is mining with 8 drones, and this is not Wings of Liberty. So that is not a particularly auspicious number. Oh, it's bad. It is Dark, but this is quite a mountain as the workers... the SCVs go back home. Something the drones may never be able to do. The Queens might have 1 transfuse. Single spine crawler trying to keep this alive. But that is optimistic. A transfuse saves the day. Spine crawler gets 1 slap in. Has to use another transfuse. The Marines are microing by. Maybe a little bit too far here. The Zerglings find a wraparound. More Marines come to reinforce. Spine crawler's dodge. And Dark is making a mountain out of quite a molehill here. The Marine count is still so high, though. The drones are still out on the map. Not that they can participate in much. Marines targeting down the spine as it tries vainly to burrow. And I think the damage, unfortunately, not realizing it was a 3 Rex, this is probably the most direct demonstration. It doesn't... Oh, he only sends out the equivalent of 1G. Dog. You can dish it out, but... can you take it? That's the question. Well, 2 games, almost before I finish the introductions, will bring us to a decider match. And that decider will determine who moves on in the GSL. Now, at this stage of the tournament, there's still a chance for either player to make it through in the final match, but obviously much easier to just go out with a clean sweep. Well, jump in. Jimmy, please. I know we're not used to the prestige of GSL replays, but Game 3 on Gresvin, where we've seen some of the most dramatic matches throughout this entire map pool. Will we have another one? Or are we going home early? GuMiho command center first. Both players pulling back a bit in Game 3. It comes down to a best of one, which I'm sure neither of these players like to rely on, but here we are. And I don't think either of those games is particularly indicative of how Game 3 will go. Just sometimes, in high-stress, high-pressure situations, it plays out like that. Both players, honestly, I bet Dark, even Dark, the Magnificent, was a little surprised at how well the Roach All-In went in Game 1. And GuMiho has to be pleased with how effective the 3 Rags proxy was in Game 2. But now we see here in Game 3, neither player, at least so far, testing their luck with something so reliant on surprise. Well, looking remarkably standard. The Command Center first might not be the most popular build, but it's up there nowadays. Terran players, especially on longer rush distance map, feeling confident they can get away with it. And against very early cheeses, or pool first sort of situations, it actually is a bit more defensible, as your Command Center's already done by the time Zerglings can come across the map. At the same time, Dark, probably not going to try to punish it, as many Zerg players feel comfortable with, well, when you see a Command Center first, you know, by definition, there's not going to be units nearly as quickly coming across the map. So most Zerg players will take that opportunity to start the creep spread, really pump up the drone count, get a third hatchery, produce queens, and as we hurtle towards the basic builds here. Third Command Center for GuMiho. Just as committed as he was in Game 2 to the proxy racks, he's committed to economy in Game 3 with just as many CCs. Dark, on the other hand, nothing of note yet. The only thing of note is how standard his build is. Just queens and lings and zergling speed. Has that third hatchery up. The only question will be, is there another production, another tech building we see in the next couple minutes? Every now and again, well, not every now and again, now and usually again, there's a roach one. He's not the sort that tries to end the game, but just Dark, one of the most regular roach users, even against bio-based army. The Marines, the Marauders, and tanks are usually quite cost-effective against the roaches, but quantity has a quality all its own. Viking on the way. Cloak behind it. There is still very much an opportunity for GuMiho to go towards mech, though with that tech lab on the barracks, it looks like he's going to angle for the bio. There's, I'd call it a more safety roach one in here. From Dark, adding it on after 4 minutes. Well, double armory paints quite a mechanically intensive picture, as double armory is not a bio build, believe it or not, despite the fact that the engineering bay and the armory are probably named for the opposite effect. And really should have had their names switched around at some point, because it's kind of confusing that the engineering bay upgrades infantry and the armory is for... Anyways. But not to get pedantic, but instead mechanical. 2 more factories. 1-1 starts. It's going to be roaches on the opposite side, though Dark, I'm not sure, is aware of the mechanic, well, besides the generic mechanical inclination and the trickle-down economics of GuMiho's average build. But not going to be too unhappy to see it once he already has roaches with +1 and speed. Getting 6 gases here before a... Ooh. Dark's gonna build a lot of roaches. That's gonna be a lot of roaches. I see no real reason for him to be holding on this level of economy, unless he's really planning on slamming out the roaches. 68 going on 69 drones. Actually, one less with the fourth hatch. No infestation pit yet. A Spire. Oh, he suspects battlecruiser. It has been a weirdly silent start. Will he cancel the Spire if he sees the Raven? Wasn't there a Banshee? Oh, a safety Banshee back at home. I guess you could still potentially take your opponent off guard with the Spire, though, against the Hell clones. This isn't actually the Hyper Mech, it's just Battle Mech here, out of GuMiho. He's got Cyclones, Mag Field Accelerator, 1-1. So, mutas are definitely not the most efficient way to deal with Cyclones, though, like anything, the quality is in the quantity. If you can overwhelm the amount of Cyclones and kind of negate the effectiveness of the lock-ons, then very much so mutas can win the day. But if GuMiho has any sort of warning, then it's going to become much more difficult. Even a couple Widow Mines mixed in, or even some time to prepare. Zerglings are roasted. Is there an engineering bay? There isn't. He's gonna get in. Dark confirms the mech. Engineering bay starts. But the mutas will already be out by the time any potential turrets could begin. And is there any reason for GuMiho to suspect a Spire? None at all. He may build some safety turrets, but if he doesn't, that could be devastating damage right off the bat. Which is the main, like, the reason we don't usually see mutas nowadays is because it's so hard to get that sort of damage done. But Dark has managed to hide the mutas for long enough that GuMiho's building 2 command centers, 3 more factories, but no turrets back at home, so completely unaware. This will be the very first moment the mutas will be spotted with a great panic for GuMiho as the TPM, the turrets per minute, skyrockets, and those skyrockets begin construction. A couple Cyclones. He's going to interrupt the turrets, but they're not done in the main. There's one more! Finally. Oh, and a Thor pops out. Essentially a perfect timing to drive back the mutas. He's going to delay a couple command centers. The roaches, not sitting idly by, but instead pressuring the 4th base. But even when caught almost entirely unaware, it does seem like the mutas only doing superficial damage to GuMiho. He loses 12 SCVs, plummeting to 73. He doesn't really delay the 4th base at all. The upgrades are amazing for GuMiho, with 2-2 already on the way. And by already on the way, I mean nearly completed. Signed, sealed, and about to be delivered. So, Dark gonna try to swing in. The planetary is fully operational by the time the roaches and ravagers arrive. The Raven has full energy here. An anti-armor missile, likely the choice against this sort of army. And Dark, unable to find significant damage against a GuMiho who is now running on all cylinders. Wow, beautiful anti-armor missile. Dark gonna stick around, see if he can still get stuff done, as long as the army doesn't actually fight him, but I don't know if it's gonna end up being worth it. Dark is maxed out. He has plenty of resources, and the lack of, you know, I'm starting to think Dark is better than me, as he clearly realizes that even if his army is more vulnerable, that doesn't mean that GuMiho can fight him. The units that GuMiho has really require some space to maneuver. Without siege tanks to hold down a stable position, well, the roaches and ravagers can kind of stiff arm their way into the 3rd base, and he kills a dozen or more SCVs alongside it. The mutas will finish off the flying racks. Dark maintains 200 supply. Dark has a Nidus on the way. Dark has +3 ranged attack and +2 melee. Dark has adrenal glands. Dark has burrow in production, and Dark has 4 bases. Whereas GuMiho sitting back, building his 3-3, but struggling to get past that 160 supply mark as Dark keeps whittling down any units that stray outside the base. Greater Spire on the way. The siege tank count grows, and with it, the chances of deflecting the army entirely. So far, even though not able to get much with the initial tech, Dark has still dictated the pace of the game, as he so often does. The Roach Ravager. No Vipers yet, somewhat curiously. Without any Vipers, it's going to become harder and harder to pick apart this army composition, even if he does end up getting the Broodlords. Baneling Nest on the way. So, we're going to keep a lookout for the Vipers here. GuMiho, on the other hand, how many command centers? He's got 5 orbitals. He's got a couple more chilling in the main. He's actually got a reserve, I'm going to call it that, to be nice, of siege tanks and Hellions in the main. I don't know if he's anticipating a Nidus. He hasn't really looked across. In fact, he's never even seen the main base, let alone knows that there's a hive. Smart servos on the way. GuMiho, despite the continued attempts of Dark, still playing very solid with a incredibly comfortable army. Having 3-3 for your mech army, well before even some of the +2 upgrades have finished for Zerg, that is a luxury that few Terran players ever realize. Let alone, like, just getting 3-3 for mech in general is a struggle usually. But that means fully operational Hellchads with their ability to roast Zerglings no matter their upgrades. Of course, the siege tanks pounding away and deflecting all but the most concerted attacks on the Thors. Hive is complete. Neural Parasite. Dark is slowly but surely grabbing most of the map with creep. He's building a second Spire and 6 Dropper Lords, as looking to explore other options for dealing with this. Oh my god, an interference matrix on an infestor. Technically, yes, you can interference matrix either mechanical or psionic units, but incredibly rarely do we... I don't know if I've ever seen an interference matrix on an infestor, but beautiful presence of mind there. At least slows things down, though doesn't knock them out quite yet. The infestor's having a tough time getting involved, but the Roach Ravager sure doesn't, as he crushes the army in the center of the map. Just overwhelming the amount that GuMiho was able to put on the field. Has to retreat back to the siege tanks. That's what was lacking in that fight. 3-3 is now done, but the Ravager count is so damn high. The Ravagers have +3/+1, so they're no slouches themselves. There are Corruptors on the way. Much of this was Dark just kind of trading away his supply. A very efficient trade, I might add. Oh, the Hellions scout the Dropper Lords, even if they aren't the most relevant ones. That will give him a little more information if he's looking for it. GuMiho walled in his own Thor. It's a House Thor now. He starts a fusion core, though I do believe it is for advanced ballistics, at least for now. The Thor in the main, just need a little more space for activities. Nidus, attack to Nidus at the front. 4 more command centers on the way. I don't believe the Thor is going to worry too much about these Zerglings, especially now with the Hellions to back him up. And Nidus at the front. I'm sure GuMiho panicking a bit, looking around and then realizing he's already cleaned up the main. Yeah, scouring around the map, but it is just in the center. And those 4 more command centers completing, but here comes Dark with a vanguard of Broodlords, a bunch of Ravagers, some Queens underneath, Lings and Banes, some of the most complicated units to use as Zerg, but Dark is like a symphony conductor when it comes to controlling all these complex units. Does GuMiho have what it takes to defend? The Thor count is damn high, but the position is quite difficult for the Thors to even bring their weapons to bear. The Broodlords have essentially entrenched themselves in the center here. GuMiho has plenty of command centers. He might be able to give that location up, but he sure doesn't want to. Ravager, Corrosive Bows, Neural Parasite borrows a Thor. If you can't beat him, hire him. He goes for the Infestors. The Thors are, well, more Thors joining Dark side. And that might be what he needs to break through the front lines. The Thors having served their purpose, the Broodlord will unleash some Broodlings on them. The Ravagers still finding opportunities to get attacks. 31 Roaches in production behind this. The Thors, the surviving non-traitor Thors, will have to retreat. As GuMiho, despite having such a powerful mech army, Dark still finds a way to break down the defenses, but he will be stopped. We just have to ask ourselves the question, at what cost? 18 more Ravagers for Dark. Broodlings going every which way in the air. Really, no one uses Ravagers quite like Dark. Like it's like a sledgehammer is a scalpel. Just slamming his way through. Taking down the planetary. Thor's trying to chase down Broodlords via medevac, which is quite the most dangerous version of a Viking. Single Liberator throws up the corrosive bile, knocks it down. Orbital command going every which way. Nowhere is safe anymore as Dark continues. Another volley of corrosive biles landing, but the Thor count has been shored up somewhat. The Broodlords, we're down to one Broodlord. He's essentially removed the Broodlords from the composition. Dark is at 191 to 123 supply. And pushing through the center here is GuMiho still struggling to find any sort of real stable income. He has the 4th base to the north, but he's running out of minerals on the rest of his bases here. 5 siege tanks at a time. But right now, he built... Oh my god, he wanted battle cruisers. He wanted to go battle cruisers. He built 4 more starports with tech labs. That tells a story. That tells a story of a budget he passed but could not fulfill. As Dark slammed down the doors before the battle cruisers could fly over them. And now GuMiho, caught mid-tech transition, is desperately making enough units just to hold the line. But the line keeps getting pushed back. 2 battle cruisers begin. A desperate option that may very well save the day, considering 9 swarm hosts in production for Dark, who has decided the Ravagers are no longer quite cost-effective enough, and he must get a little more dramatic. He's still sitting on 200 supply. It doesn't seem like any fight has gone ridiculously far into his favor, but at the end of the day, the supply speaks for itself. 4 battle cruisers on the way. But remember, Dark already has +1/+1 in the air. He already has the ability to make those corruptors. And he has the economy to follow it up. The swarm hosts. The Locust a bit ambitious. A Thor drop actually manages to take out one of the hatcheries, but the Ravagers will take out an orbital in turn. The desperate battle cruisers will muster. Maybe the Thor drop is in the main. Killing some drones, but Dark still has money in the bank here. The Ravagers find essentially the last mining location of GuMiho. Dark at a 2,700 income advantage right now, which is, and considering Dark's at about 2,700 income, that's quite an advantage. Hey, those are some nice battle cruisers. Would be a shame if something happened to them. Oh, he holds them still. Oh, I believe that's what we call getting served. As GuMiho, the larger they are, the more dramatic it is when you neural parasite them. Dark with the built-in counter. The battle cruisers were never going to be the answer. The final boss comes out first in his group, only faltering to the kind of dramatic proxy wrecks. Well, I don't think you expected any other result, but it was a fun series to get there. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching my take on the GSL Code S. I hope if you see matches you'd like me to cover, make sure to recommend them. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. Congratulations to Dark for being the least surprising, but probably most exciting player into the playoffs. Good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill. He could have, the battle cruisers could have been, He could have been fine. Don't worry. Don't.